Coming to you from the Hudson Media Group studios, this is Talking Politics, and I am the professor, Fernando Uribe. There's a lot to discuss, so let's get started. This is what I'm thinking about right now. Now, folks, let me just sort of decompress this a little bit for you because it's a story that made some headlines this week, and while it qualifies as clickbait, there's a little bit more to the story than it meets the eye. So let me just start off by saying that as an academic, I often fear the reality of my fellow colleagues sometimes saying things that are outlandish or bombastic or hyperbolic. But this week, it really caught my eye for two reasons. Number one, it was just foolish. And number two, she's actually a colleague at my alma mater. So it really disappointed me. So let me just sort of, unravel this for you. But a professor at Rutgers University by the name of Brittany Cooper. Now, she teaches gender studies there at my alma mater in New Brunswick. And let me just start off by saying that, listen, I don't want to sound judgmental here about academics, but one of the things that kind of drives me crazy about the liberal arts is what are you sort of majoring in, or what sort of program are you looking to enroll in? And listen, it'd be extremely hypocritical of me to sort of denounce any academic programs per se in the social sciences. But as I tell my students all the time, it's about picking a major that A, is going to help you find work, and B, perhaps, realize a career. And that's one of the things that sort of drives me crazy about some of the humanities and even some of the liberal arts majors. Now, folks, listen, again, no offense to my liberal arts colleagues and everything, especially those that teach gender studies. But is this really a major you want to spend tens upon thousands of dollars and incur student debt in? Let's be honest, folks. And again, no disrespect to my colleagues, but you can't go to Barnes & Nobles for a weekend and just sort of camp out there and read, let's say, a sufficient amount of books when it comes to gender studies. I mean, folks, no offense. I mean, I don't want to go as far and insult anybody and say it's a joke of a major, but it's pretty close. And I'm not trying to sound condescending about it, but the reality is that, listen, you're spending tens of thousands of dollars on something like this, and is it really going to get you a job? And I tell my students all the time, listen, again, pick a major that's going to be worthwhile, that's going to help you find a career. All right. Now, again, if you want to major in social work, sociology, criminology, communications, political science, listen, those are all worthwhile majors, and you'll be able to find work in perhaps higher education, maybe in social work, perhaps working in government, maybe working in the nonprofit sector, maybe even working in media. But folks, when you think about these gender studies degrees, I mean, it's a waste of time and money. So when I think about a professor like Brittany Cooper at Rutgers University talking about like some nonsensical topics, it kind of drives me crazy because it does a disservice to at least the field of academia. And this week, again, was without exception. Let me just, again, put this into context here. Now, this New Jersey professor went on to say that during a program that she taped with Oprah Winfrey on her online network, that President Trump's policies are responsible for black female obesity. Yes, I'll say it again. President Trump and his policies are the reason why she's obese. Now, of course, she had to sort of walk back those comments, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. But looking at the face value of it, it seems really outlandish. And this is one of the things that, as I've talked about it before, this is where my liberal colleagues drive me up the wall. Because what you're doing is you're sort of putting out this false narrative that just is nonsensical. Okay? I've said it before, and I'll continue saying it again. Liberalism isn't fact-based. It just isn't. It's aspirational, all right? It's sort of replete with like these endless should've, wouldn't it be great if, or just imagine. Folks, I hate dealing with those innuendos or those sort of ad hominem type of like theories. It doesn't work for anybody, okay? And certainly Professor Cooper is no exception here. And one of the things, again, it's sort of like the idea, and listen, liberals do this a lot in academia, but liberals for the most part in American society they want to be judged on sort of the purity of their hearts and sort of the charity of their souls. That's great, and that's awesome. That'll get you a card, right? If you want to go to CVS and buy one, knock yourself out. The problem is that, it's many liberals in academia are oblivious to the catastrophic nature of their policies or what they're proposing. And I just don't understand why they don't get that. And when I look at Professor Cooper, I can even begin to tell you how silly I felt this story was. But let's go into a couple of quotes here that I think that'll capture your attention. She went on to say, quote, "Look at the policies that are killing our people. It's literally racism that we're experiencing and the struggles to make ends meet. And that is why my diet doesn't work and why it doesn't work for a lot of black females." Now, this is one of the things she went on to say also on her Twitter feed as well. She went on to say, quote, "I hate when black people, specifically black women, talk about being obese. And I hate it because it becomes a way to sort of blame us for a set of conditions that we did not create. Now, she wanted to say this on her Twitter feed. She has a pretty healthy following, so it's sort of concerning. She also wanted to say, I hate when people talk again about the fact that, hey, we're living in the Trump era. And look, those policies kill our people. You can't get access to good health care or even good insurance. Now, listen, again, and this is sort of her way of walking back this sort of clickbait headline. Now, I don't disagree with Professor Cooper on that aspect. Yes, we do need better health insurance. We do need better medical care in our hospitals. We need better just overall health care in the United States. I don't disagree with that. But the idea that to blame the President of the United States for a problem that, again, that I don't want to sort of paint with a broad brush, but that perhaps can be self-inflicted, it just doesn't seem fair. All right? Like as if obesity didn't exist before President Trump took office. Do you see what I'm saying? And this is where liberal professors, especially in academia, do students a disservice. Now, again, a couple of quotes here I think that sort of puts the thing into context, of course, is the idea, and listen, she wanted to cite some academic research. She wanted to say in the 1990s that Dr. Arlene Geronimus argued pretty convincingly that black women have physiological stress responses to racial stimuli, and this affects their long-term health. Now, Professor Cooper was citing this body of work and, of course, the president's status in her mind as a racially polarizing figure that contributes to issues of racial stress for people of color. Now, media outlets and even online outlets such as Campus Reform tried to reach Professor Cooper for a comment and tried to at least ask, well, are these the values you're promoting in the classroom? It just doesn't seem productive. Now, again, I get it. She's trying to sort of raise awareness about a problem when it comes to long-term health. Hey, I applaud Professor Cooper. But when you use a headline like the way she's using, you're doing your message a disservice. And again, it just reminds us why liberal professors just absolutely drive us crazy. So parents that send their kids, whether it's to Rutgers University or anywhere else in the state or anywhere in the country, you're paying tens of thousands of dollars. And in many instances, you're paying for an education that at times, specifically because of the professor, can be absolutely nonsensical. I don't know about you, but it's liberal professors like Professor Cooper at Rutgers University that do all of us a disservice in academia and in higher education. And that's what I'm thinking about right now.
Don't forget to catch Fernando's podcast at blogtalkradio.com/talkonthehudson. New episodes available every Wednesday night at 9 p.m.
On this week's edition of the award-winning podcast Talk on the Hudson, which you can listen to live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. by going to www.blogtalkradio.com/Talk on the Hudson from any PC, Mac, smartphone, or tablet. You can listen to it anywhere at any time. And this week, my guest was the distinguished assemblywoman from the 32nd Legislative District, a regular on the program, Angelica Jimenez. Now, she was on with me for over an hour, but here are some highlights that should capture your attention. First and foremost, we discussed her co-sponsorship of a bill in the state assembly about granting driver's licenses to illegals. It's caused a lot of controversy, and even though the legislature is not back in session yet in Trenton, for sure, once it is, this will generate a lot of headlines, and the ongoing debate will continue in the state of New Jersey as it pertains to giving driver's licenses to illegals and sort of the outrage and the backlash that it's created. Let's hear what she had to say.
You know, they're Latino, Angelica. They're going to be a little more conservative. And when they hear about this potential legislation, the first thing that comes to mind for people like my parents and that age demographic is, espera un momentico, hold on a second. People are here illegally. Now you want to give them not a right, but the privilege of driving an automobile. Like, why are we rewarding people for bad behavior? Or why are we rewarding people that are here illegally with something as important as operating a motor vehicle? What do you say to people like my parents and others that are the same age? Because the first thing that comes to mind, Angelica, some people might say, oh, well, Fernando, your parents are racist. Your parents are bigots. No, they're not. They're not racist.
Not at all. Not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, no, not at all. I understand where they're coming from.
Okay, so what do you say to people, whether it's my parents or their age demographic, that's going to say, Angelica, I get it. They're here. They're working. They're taking their kids to school, whatever, whatever it encompasses.
Right.
But we're still rewarding them by giving them a driver's license. Why would you want to do that?
No,
what do you say to people?
No.
What do you say to people?
Right. What I say to them is, let's flip it. Let's say this. Okay, they're here. Okay, they live here in our community in the 32nd district. They are here. They live in our community. Let's educate them. Let's make sure that they know how to drive. Okay, make sure that they know the laws on driving correctly, and have that. They have to abide by our laws. Make sure that they have a license, and we can make money on this, because listen, what's happening right now in our community, and Fernando, you know as well as I do, whenever we see a Maryland license plate in Union City as well as in West New York, because you live in Union City, I live in West New York, we know that person is undocumented. Chances are we know, and let me tell you something, the state of Maryland, I mean, that person is paying at least $5,000. It's been my understanding they not only have to pay that state, they have to do their taxes in that state. So the state of Maryland is making money because they have to do their taxes over there. They have to pay. I think it's at least, I've been told, at least $3,000 a month. Okay, you could find out for yourself. I don't know. I know that they have to put money into that. So the state of New Jersey does not make any money off of that. But listen, I want our state to benefit. I want these people to know the laws in this state. I mean, if they're going to be driving, I know that some people are driving and they're not driving legally. Okay, so maybe they don't know our laws here. I want them to be able to, first of all, as a lawmaker, I want our state to make the money off of this, number one. Okay, because if we could benefit as Maryland does, as the state of New York we'll know actually come April, because I think that's when it will definitely by April we'll know, because it's been passed in New York. So in April I think is when it finally comes into fruition over there. But they're going to be making money, so why can't we make the money? Do you understand what I'm saying? But in the meantime, listen, if it could be legal and if they could pass some sort of test and stuff, why not? Why can't we make the money? So as a lawmaker, I want to be able to have that here and educate them. So this way, it's a safety for our citizens. So this way, I know that they're driving legally, and why not? Because right now, if people are driving, I don't know if they know the laws. So that's where my argument comes in, So it's a safety issue for me. Financial wise, listen, if we could be making the money, why not?
Without a doubt, the Assemblywoman had a lot to say on the topic, and quite frankly, folks, it'll continue to get headlines all throughout the state of New Jersey. Again, there are those on the political right that oppose this because it's sort of encouraging bad behavior, and by rewarding people who are here illegally with the privilege of driving. Again, it's not a right, but it's a privilege. And certainly her points are valid from a policy perspective, but ideologically, some New Jerseyans are just not on board. And for her liberal colleagues in the state assembly and also in the state senate, yes, it's music to their ears, but at the same token, it might also raise awareness about where illegals stand in the state of New Jersey. So again, she certainly, felt it's an issue that's worth discussing, and certainly putting her name to paper as the bill will proceed throughout the state assembly, and we'll see if it eventually reaches Governor Murphy's desk for a signature. Secondly, we also talked about her outlook on the state of the Democratic Party. Recently, on a debate on CNN, we had 12 of the Democratic candidates for over 3 hours discussing issues as it pertains to who will ultimately challenge President Donald Trump in November of 2020. Without a doubt, she's very concerned because even as a moderate Democrat, Angelica feels that the party may be moving too far left. And if that's the case, it's almost reassuring another term for the president. Let's check out what she had to say.
But one of the things I wanted to really ask you about is sort of the perception that's out there, that it seems like the Democratic Party as a whole, maybe not New Jersey per se, even though Governor Murphy is very liberal, but on a national level, is the idea that maybe moving the party very far left, is that going to be the winning formula? Because I can tell you that
it's not. It's not
New
the
Jersey
winning formula. It's not. Mm-hmm. It's not. I'm telling you, because not. And I think it'll be our ruin if we move it too far to the left. Personally, I think we'll get Trump will be elected again if we move too far to the left, and that is in my opinion. But you're the scholar there.
Listen, I'm with you. I mean, Democrats that are very far left, I think they resonate in New York, in New Jersey, California, but it's a hard sell for Democrats in the South and the Midwest. Like, I'm sure there are a lot of middle-of-the-road Democrats that look at someone like Bernie Sanders and Warren, and they're concerned. They're worried about the rhetoric, right?
But even New Jersey, but let me tell you, even in New Jersey, don't think that we're all too far to the left. No, New Jersey isn't. I mean, if not, don't you think that we would have passed marijuana reform? I mean, don't you think that would have all passed by now? So, I think that we're somewhat of a moderate state, even though we have progressive, as our governor. It's not, we're pretty, I think we're pretty moderate in our ways. I think that we have our ideals, but we're not completely that far to the left. I think we're more on mainstream. We're very middle class, and that's what we're all about.
Sure.
I think we have to appeal. I mean, that's what it's about, appealing to the middle class. That's what we are, and that's what we're going to have to get. We have to get that middle class vote. I'm hoping
that's very fair.
I'm hoping that we get the picture, and I hope we get strong enough to get the right candidate.
It was an insightful and interesting episode for well over an hour. So again, to listen to the episode in its entirety, you can always go to www.blogtalkradio.com/Talking to Hudson. Again, you don't want to miss out. The Assemblywoman had a lot to say, and certainly she's very passionate about her positions and also very passionate about serving her constituents in the 32nd Legislative District. And now on to some local stories that hopefully will capture your attention. In the township of North Bergen, this past week, the township became the very first municipality in Hudson County to recognize October as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It's only a testament to the town employees and also, of course, Mayor Nicholas Sacco and the Board of Commissioners who are trying to raise awareness about this ongoing problem that's really still resonating throughout society. Here are a couple points here mentioned this week in the Hudson Reporter. At the most recent Board of Commissioners meeting, officials passed a proclamation which they awarded Luz Fontanez, a domestic violence liaison from Women Rising. It's a nonprofit organization. It's the only Hudson County organization that provides shelter specifically for women who are victims of domestic violence. Now, Women Rising also assists women and their families with counseling, legal services, and eventual employment assistance. Fontanez was ecstatic to receive the award on behalf of the organization, and also, which is now in its 114th year of operation. So again, great job by not only Women Rising, but also by the Township of North Bergen to really raise awareness about this issue. During the recent Board of Commissioners meeting, Police Chief Robert Dowd went on to say that the organization is a valuable partner to the North Bergen Police Department. Here's a quote that really, I think, really puts everything in perspective here. Chief Dowd went on to say, "Women Rising is a phenomenal group. It's well deserving of being honored. They're part of our domestic violence response team." Now, the Attorney General recently in Trenton, Gurbir Gurwal, directed every police department in the state to offer counseling to any victim of domestic violence at any time. Now, specifically, Women Rising will pick up the phone right in the middle of the night, and that's one thing that Chief Dowd is very grateful for. He's known them as a partner for the department for at least 20 years, and when police in the state started taking on serious domestic violence initiatives, guess what? North Bergen was leading the pack among all the municipalities in the state. Now, even though that the awareness is here, the statistics still provide us a very grim reality about the ongoing threat of domestic violence. Now, the proclamation cites some statistics that were echoed by the National Coalition of Domestic Violence, which shows that domestic violence and abuse as a whole is still on the rise in the United States. 1 in 3 women will experience domestic violence at some point in their lifetime, and 1 in 4 women will also experience, unfortunately, sexual assault in their lifetime. Now, 1 in 6 men have also had abusive or unwanted sexual experiences in their lifetime, and approximately 1.5 million children are exposed to domestic violence every year. Folks, these are numbers that should break our hearts, but it should open our eyes. And certainly I want to applaud the North Bergen Police Department, again, Chief Robert Dowd, the entire force, Mayor Nicholas Sacco, and the Board of Commissioners for raising awareness about this. There are a lot of great employees in the Township of North Bergen that have worked very hard in conjunction with Women Rising to raise awareness about domestic violence. I mean, folks, these are numbers, again, they should really, really give us a moment of pause. These are numbers that should startle us and scare us. It's a problem that is still ongoing, and it seems like there's no solution in sight. Now, listen, whether you want to cite economic reasons, cultural reasons, sociological reasons, I don't know, and I don't care. But domestic violence isn't acceptable in any manner. And I applaud the North Bergen Police Department, and I applaud the Township of North Bergen for really raising awareness about it. So cheers to them. Cheers again to Mayor Nicholas Sacco, the Board of Commissioners, and the North Bergen Police Department for really opening our eyes about what domestic violence means, and of course declaring October as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the township. So good job by everybody there, and hopefully it's a problem that will resolve much sooner than later. Another local news, and let's move on to Jersey City. And now the Jersey City Education Association is joining the fight with the ongoing battle that the city has with Airbnb. Recently reported this past week by Hudson County View, nice job by John Highness there, by the way, in which the president of the Jersey City Education Association, President Ron Greco, went on to say that now it just makes sense. Let me just give you sort of a perspective here about what's going on. Again, coming up on November 5th in Jersey City, on the ballot initiative will be a simple initiative as to whether you vote yes to allow Airbnb to, and the ordinances to continue, right, that the city sort of put on Airbnb, or voting no would sort of give free rein to the short-term rental company. Now, again, one of the things that President Greco wanted to release in a statement this week is, quote, many of our students walk to school on a daily basis, and the sense of community that makes Jersey City exceptional is evident in no greater way than in the neighbors who provide an extra layer of safety to our children on that commute. Now, adding thousands of strangers across the city through short-term rentals greatly increases the risks to the well-being of our students. Now, the impact of short-term rentals has had an inflating cost on our average resident here. It's also created a hardship. On behalf of the Jersey City Education Association, President Greco went on to say, quote, I hope you will consider voting yes to question 1 on November the 5th. Folks, again, and as I mentioned in previous episodes, even during the podcast, having Chief Municipal Prosecutor Jake Hudnut and even the Ward E Councilman James Solomon on the program in recent weeks, they've all expressed their disapproval as it pertains to Airbnb. Now listen, folks, again, I'm all about the free market. We've talked about this at length here on this program. But there needs to be some sort of moderation, and there needs to be oversight. And this is probably one of the reasons that people sort of have this ongoing sort of love-hate relationship with corporations. Yes, the cost of living has gone up in Jersey City. Properties have skyrocketed after the reval, and it's becoming increasingly more expensive to live in Hudson County's largest city. And of course, homeowners are using Airbnb as part of a supplemental revenue stream. So I can applaud that. Listen, again, the free market's a great thing, but there needs to be oversight. Okay, the city council has passed some ordinances to try to reel in Airbnb, and again, it seems like with all of their resources, whether it is a advertising campaign or anything else, Airbnb will not go down quietly, and that's certainly the case that's coming up on November the 5th. Jersey residents have taken to social media. They've mobilized out even in parks and the streets throughout Jersey City, denouncing Airbnb. They don't want to get rid of it, but they want that oversight to continue. And you know what? I can't blame them. So certainly the Jersey Education Association has joined in the battle now, in not only joining Mayor Stephen Fulop, Municipal Prosecutor Jake Hudnut, and again, Ward E Councilman James Solomon in their fight against Airbnb. It remains to be seen what's going to happen in the coming days leading up to November the 5th. But folks, mark my words, it's going to be a very contentious vote, and it might be a very slim margin as to who eventually wins coming up on Election Day. Lastly, as you can tell, I'm still wearing pink because, folks, October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Now, again, what I've been doing is raising money all throughout the month of October in my partnership with the North Hudson Regional Firefighters Association and the North Hudson Regional Fire Officers Association, Locals 3950 and 3951, for a professor's quest to save breasts. Now, again, since 2008, my fundraising has accumulated almost $43,000 to benefit the American Cancer Society and, more importantly, making strides against breast cancer. So coming up, as I'll be doing the walk in Jersey City at Lincoln Park, of course, raising money throughout the month of October is essential. And of course, what I've been doing throughout this entire month of October is give you some tips and some insightful information as to how to tackle breast cancer for you or your family or any loved ones, and what to do if, God forbid, you are afflicted with this dreaded disease. Not all hope is lost, folks. If it's caught early, it's very winnable. But a couple of things here I want you to keep in mind in terms of like some information to sort of, be aware of. Again, about 1 in 8 women born in the United States today might get breast cancer at some point in their lifetime. That's a really scary statistic, folks. Now, the good news is that most women can indeed survive breast cancer if it's found and treated early. Now, a mammogram, for example, as I've talked about before, is the screening test for breast cancer, and it can help find breast cancer early enough when it's easier to treat. Now, again, if you have any more, sort of questions about it, again, I would really strongly urge you to go to www.cancer.org. That is the official website for the American Cancer Society. You'll find all great resources there. You'll be able to talk to someone live at any time, whether it's a counselor or anybody else with the American Cancer Society when it comes to finding resources again, and also at the same time information that's vital. Because if we find it early, it's treatable, folks. And that's the great thing that I find about the American Cancer Society and all of the hard work that they do, all the doctors, all the counselors, everyone that works so hard for this outstanding nonprofit organization, and one that I'm proud to partner with since 2008, is something that, quite frankly, cannot go unnoticed. So a couple other things too, folks. Again, when we're talking about raising awareness, again, ask your doctors and nurses any vital information when you go to the hospital, when you get your mammogram done. Again, please encourage women from the ages of 40 to 49 to talk with their doctors about getting mammograms. At the same time, be proactive. Even organize an event in your municipality with women between the ages of 50 to 74 who are even at a higher risk for breast cancer. Get involved, folks. And again, what I've been doing for the rest of the month here, again, partnering with Locals 3950 and 3951 respectively, and raising money overall, is to, again, help defeat breast cancer once and for all. And that's what we're trying to do here. So whether it's either you're mobilizing, hosting a fundraiser, raising money online, hey, whatever it is you're doing, do it. It's too important a cause to overlook. And as I said, it affects men too. But when it comes to our moms, our sisters, our wives, our neighbors, whoever it is, let's do our part to help women throughout not just only the month of October, but also throughout the entire year. And hope ultimately we'll defeat breast cancer once and for all. So again, folks, for more information, you can always go to www.cancer.org. And the American Cancer Society is there to help you out. And that's our episode for this week. So check out all the excellent programming brought to you by the Hudson Media Group. Check out their websites, www.hmgtvshows.com and also www.livestream.com/HMGTV. Don't forget to follow the Hudson Media Group on Twitter and on Instagram, and also like their page on Facebook. As for the podcast, you can listen to it live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. by going to www.blogtalkradio.com/Talking the Hudson. You can follow the podcast on Instagram as well at Talking the Hudson. Also follow me on Twitter at Professor F. Uribe. And don't forget to like the podcast on Facebook as well. Folks, again, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Do me a favor, if you're interested in donating, just Google search A Professor's Quest to Save Breast 2019, and you'll be able to donate whatever you can. All donations are safe, secure, and they're tax deductible. And let's do our part to defeat breast cancer once and for all. Thank you so much for watching us this week, folks. If we're talking politics, we're doing it right here with the Hudson Media Group. I'm Fernando Uribe. Thank you so much for watching.
Don't forget to catch Fernando's podcast at blogtalkradio.com/talkonthehudson. New episodes available every Wednesday night at 9 p.m.